All right, guys, welcome in. Today, we've got a really fun case to talk about. We're going to talk about what recently happened with Afroman in Ohio. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this case. I actually am going to start by giving a shout out to Booker T because that's who put me onto this case. I saw Booker T this past weekend at what was the name? Main event. I'm sorry, no, big event that I did in New York, and we actually rode to the airport together in the car, and we were just talking about recent cases. That's something Booker T and I always talk about, and he mentioned the Afroman case, was telling me about it, and so I went and I started watching it, and he did not disappoint. So shout out to Booker T. Thank you for that. So much so that we're going to discuss that now. Um, all right, so I'll give you the broad strokes of this. So I don't know if you guys know, but Afro Man he's a recording artist and had a huge hit. I want to say it's called "Because I Got High," and it came out around like 2000 maybe, and that's what he's pretty well known for. It's upbeat song, and since then, I mean, I haven't really heard anything about him up until this. In fact, I didn't know whatever became of him, but it I'm happy to see that he looks like he's doing well. So anyway, Afro Man lives in Ohio, and apparently he was minding his own business. And one day, the sheriff's department busts into his front gate. They break open his front door, and because they're executing a search warrant, apparently it was lawful, and I believe it was for kidnapping. I don't know if it was for drugs, something like that, but I think kidnapping was part of it. And they search the place, they find nothing, and he's cleared of all charges. And Afro Man says, he asks them, "Well, are you guys gonna pay for my front door and my gate to be repaired?" And the officer that he asked, I guess, gave a rude remark and kind of, yeah, shrugged him off. We don't have to do that. It's not our responsibility. So they also seized his property, to which they reported was $4,000 in cash. However, Afroman stated that it was actually more than that, and when it was returned to him, they kept some of it. So they stole $400 to $1,000 from him of his own money that they seized from his house in this attempt. So, oh yeah, ultimately the raid turned up no evidence of drug trafficking or kidnapping. There we have it. Yes. So anyway, in an attempt to have some fun with this and to maybe make a little bit of money, Afroman decided to make some music videos and to put his experience into song because he has police cameras. I'm not sorry, police cameras. He has surveillance video of the police officers on the camera. And so this is perfect material for him to be creative and to make these videos. And hey, this guy is a national treasure. I'm just going to tell you right now because these are so creative. So Steve, can we pull one of these up? I want to I want to watch one of these. Maybe we start with lemon pound cake if we can, and then give a little context here. Now, to fast forward while Steve is finding that as well. So what happens is Afroman makes these music videos, and they're clever. They're clever. The sheriff's officers, the police officers, the subjects of the videos, they see these, they are not pleased, or well, I don't know, or they see a payday potentially. But either way, they file a civil lawsuit against Afroman for defamation of character because of what he said about them in these videos. Okay, let's see. Is this the music video? Okay. Here we go. All right. So that particular officer there, he came in and he saw a lemon pound cake on the counter that Afroman's mom had made for him. And you can see it in the video. It's hilarious. Look, he does a double take. It looks like he thinks about opening that, taking the container off, the top off, and having a slice. But anyway, Afroman makes an entire song about this and calls this guy Officer Pound Cake. And the song is, hey, it's catchy. I got to be honest with you. Um, you should go through and check it out. These are all good. It's so creative. Um, you can let it play a little bit.
He was sniffing for weed, then he smelled another smell. What was that? Mama's living down.
Oh wow! And the best part of this is because this just went to trial. In the trial, they had to play all of these, but also Officer Poundcake took the witness stand, and he was saying how well he was trying to explain how this has damaged his life and his reputation because he has to show damages. He said that people make fun of him wherever he goes, and they call him Officer Pound Cake, Lemon Pound Cake, and everywhere he goes, he said people were sending pound cakes to the police station. He can't get away from pound cakes everywhere he goes. He said he walked into a bar or something. Hey, pound cake. Hey, well, how you doing? What do you say, pound cake? He says that's ruined his life. Who else do we have? What's another character in there? He can. I know there's one. Lick 'em low, Lisa. Oh wow. He's got a whole video on that one, and then one of them, I believe the ex-wife, is it the ex-wife of Officer Poundcake? But one of the ex-wives of one of the officers testified on behalf of Afroman and actually stated that her husband, her then husband, was laughing initially when he heard about this, which shows that he wasn't really negatively affected or hurt by this. In fact, it was the opposite. He enjoyed it. It was pleased by this. So, but can you imagine, like, of all things, the ex comes in and ruins the case for the guy. Yeah. Okay. What other videos can we pull up from it? All right, which one is this? Lick 'em low, Lisa. So here she is.
I want
And the worst part is they got the nerve to actually be catchy. That's the thing. It's like, oh my gosh, Can we show this? Well, there you have it. That's why she felt away. Lisa felt away about this. Um, so, and there's more videos like this. So the video, you can see why the officers felt a way about this. So what happened at court? What happened in court? Spoiler alert. Well, Afroman ends up winning, but how and why? Because the great thing is we have the nearly the entire trial recorded, and we have the witness examinations that we can watch, and they are amazing. They are truly, truly amazing. But let's talk about the defenses to defamation, if we can pull that up, Steve. But truth is an absolute defense. Here we go. Yeah, you could zoom in. There we go. Okay, right. A statement must be presented as a fact, not an opinion. So it's fact versus opinion. Like saying, I think John is a jerk. That's an opinion. Saying John stole $5,000 from the company is a fact that could be proven or misproven. Now, the truth defense. So yeah, truth is an absolute defense to defamation. So if the statement is true, no matter how bad it is, it's not defamatory. It's true. Now, this is interesting because don't forget there's surveillance video. There's the home videos Afroman has of people's conduct, which comes into play. And so literally like the truth is right there on the video what they're actually doing. So that it's just an interesting wrinkle in this case. Then okay, what do we have here? Publication to a third party. Right. There has to be a publication, which there clearly was. Afroman has it on his YouTube channel. And the views are climbing by the day, especially now. Let's see. If you say something insulting directly to someone's face and no one else hears it, it is not defamation. That's true. If you say something insulting to somebody and nobody else knows about it, you can't sue for defamation because it wasn't published. Nobody else is even aware of it. So that individual suffers no damages. No damages they're able to prove. All right. The plaintiff must prove the defendant was at fault when they made the statement. The standard of proof depends on who the plaintiff is. Private figures only need to prove negligence, meaning the defendant didn't act with reasonable care to verify the truth. Okay. Public figures, which is a little bit trickier, must prove actual malice. So this means the defendant knew the statement was false or acted with reckless disregard. So yeah, you must prove actual malice for public figures, which is a little bit more difficult. Okay, the plaintiff must show the statement caused actual harm. So yeah, here's the thing. There has to be actual harm to the reputation, and you must be able to show that. And what are the ways? Well, economic loss, prove loss of a job, decline in business, loss of contracts, social harm, being shunned by the community, suffering emotional distress. This would be being canceled. And defamation per se. In some cases, the statement is so inherently damaging, accusing someone of a serious crime or a loathsome disease, STI, something like that. The damages are presumed by the court without needing specific proof of financial loss. I believe also, I'm not sure, but I think Drake's lawsuit against Kendrick falls within there for alleging him to be what do they call it now? A PDF, whatever the acronym is for this now. But yes, but I think that falls within that too. Okay. So let's see here. So statement must be a false assertion of fact, not an opinion. Yep, it's got to be communicated to somebody, and it has to be of or concerning the plaintiff. And then the fault, if it's a private person, it's negligence, didn't research it when they should have seen if it was true or false. And then if it's a public figure, it has to be actual malice, where they actually know that it's incorrect. And then proof that the statement harmed the plaintiff's reputation. That's the injury. You have to prove actual damages, that they did incur some kind of damage and they were harmed in some way. So the police officers need to prove that right off, that they were harmed by Afroman's music videos. They were harmed directly. And so a big part of it is the fact that the music videos were done in parody. Like, they were funny and jokey and heavily exaggerated. And there's AI in the videos. And so it's pretty well understood that it's fictional, it's parody. It reminds me of Eminem's music videos. If you go back like in the 2000s, how Eminem's videos were, he would depict celebrities in them doing things that I could see them feeling a way about. However, it'd be really hard to sue him for defamation because it is so over the top. And that's a very similar situation to how these music videos are. So for example, like lemon pound cake, Officer Pound Cake. Do people really see him? And I don't even know what to say about that because that's an opinion, I guess, or just a funny nickname. Like, is that actionable? The fact that he was given a funny nickname, like, does that actually damage him or cause harm to his reputation? I don't, I don't know, and that's why he had a very difficult time proving that. And I believe it was his wife also that said that he enjoyed it or at first, and sounds like he changed his mind once he realized there was a payday to be made. But can we pull that up, that relevant statute too, about parody? Because that kind of absolves Afroman of everything here. Is all of this was clearly fun. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. So false light publicity. So the officers argued that Afroman used actual footage of the raid to portray them in a misleading or humiliating way. Yeah, this is ridiculous to me. I don't know how their attorneys let them file this. They don't understand. But that he used the actual footage of the raid to portray them in a false light. But the actual footage is the actual truth. The actual footage cannot be false light. The actual footage is the actual light. It is the correct light, the true light. But so they allege that they suffered ridicule, embarrassment, mental distress, potential physical danger by being identified publicly. Come on, who wants to target Officer Poundcake because they identified him? Can you imagine? Can you imagine some citizen in Ohio they're at a diner? Hey, look at that! See that cop over there? See how he's eyeing the pound cake right there in that case? Maybe he's gonna rob the place. Maybe he's gonna rob the place and steal the pound cake. You know what? I'm gonna attack him. How ridiculous does that even sound? A police officer, they fear for their safety because somebody knows their identity is Officer Pound Cake. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes, commercial exploitation. So initially the lawsuit claimed, I'm sorry, I missed that part. Yeah, initially the lawsuit claimed Afroman profited from their likenesses without permission by selling merchandise, such as T-shirts featuring an officer's image alongside the characters like Peter Griffin. While some likeness claims were dismissed, officers used the existence of this merch to argue their reputations were being commodities for his financial gain. So Afroman had merch. that's that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Also, to point out, let's not forget the very reason for this. So, if you go back, Afroman was minding his own business, and then the sheriff's office, the officers burst into they broke his front gate. They broke down his front door. They invasively searched his entire property and found nothing. And the alleged charges what they're looking for was kidnapping and narcotics, which Afroman doesn't seem like. They found nothing, which to me says that couldn't be further from who he is or what he's involved in, which sounds like, I don't know, this was a coordinated, I don't know. It just seems like there was something behind this. Somebody intentionally targeted him for one reason or another to disrupt him. And then now he's out money because now he has to pay to get a new front door. He has to pay to get his gate repaired. And, I think this is a clever way for him to try and earn the money back and do that. And surprisingly, the jury agreed. However, I think with the law, it was pretty well obvious how the decision should have been made and should have come down. Yet, this is still Ohio, and so I'm going to say I'm very cognizant of that and the fact of the raid and the warrant. Also, let's talk about that. This is basically a no-knock warrant, which no-knock warrants have been the subject of controversy forever. We go back to Breonna Taylor, and officers just come in and usually use violence or force first. That's what happens in a surprise attempt, and just it's often the power there, whether right or wrong, is often abused, and that's the thing. It leads to gross abuses of power with that, and usually you have quite negative circumstances. And to be fair, let's say the circumstances could have been much worse here for Afroman. So I'm glad that they weren't, and that this turns out to be a humorous story that's light and funny and very, very interesting legally, by the way. Yeah. All right. What other part do we have? What other video do we have to watch on this? What do we have here? Oh, yeah. By accusing the officers of specific misconduct and related posts and lyrics, such as stealing money, the $400 that was allegedly not returned, or using hard drugs, the officers argued these statements are so inherently damaging that the court should presume harm to their reputations without them having to prove specific financial losses. So basically, they said that because they were being accused of stealing money or using hard drugs, those accusations were so bad that they shouldn't even have to prove that. I don't know. I don't know if those are as strong as they think, and clearly the jury did not find that they were. Let's see, what else do they have here? Okay. Damage to professional reputation. Yeah, the officers claim that the viral nature of the song, so the fact that the songs are popular, specifically Lemon Pound Cake, because that was a slap, to be honest, which reached millions of views, it resulted in a loss of standing within their community and professional circles. They presented the ridicule they faced as a direct hit to the respect required to perform their duties in law enforcement. That's a clever argument. Not the strongest argument, but it's clever. So basically, the officer was upset that the song was catchy and really caught on, and he was basically the butt of every joke. And people see him, they would just laugh at him, I guess, or send him pound cakes, order pound cakes to his table at the restaurant. But that's clever to say that impacted his ability to perform his duties as law enforcement, or undermined his authority, presumably, and made it difficult for people to take him serious. I don't think it stands up, and clearly it did not. But again, very, very, very clever. Very, very clever. Okay, what else do we have?
I'm trying to find a clean version of the court footage where the officer talks about his wife, because that's the one that helped me find. That's the version that brought this all to me, which was effectively they were taking the stand and asked, "Do you think your wife is cheating on you?" And instead of saying no, absolutely not, because that's what I'm being defamed about, he said, "Well, I don't know, man.
Right.
I'm not with her. Right. I'm not with her all the time."
Which was hilarious to me. You're right, man. If we could find that to pull that up. But Afroman steals a page out of Tupac's book from Hit 'Em Up, and I didn't hear this part, but allegedly says that he slept with this officer's wife or something like that. And so the officer is here alleging that he's being defamed by that Afroman saying that he slept with his wife. And then the Afroman's attorney asked the officer, "Well, do you know if he's slept with your wife, if he's had sex with your wife?" And he had to say, well, no, I don't know. Well, there you have it. What are we doing? What are we talking about here? Here it is right here. Okay, press play, please.
She didn't have an affair with Mr. Foreman. She didn't make my daughter with Mr. Foreman. But now my family has to be harmed because of straight up 100% lies. Where in the world is it okay to make something up for fun that's damaging to others when you know for sure it's an absolute lie? That's a problem.
Some of these posts that we've seen call you a thief.
Yes.
Did that affect you or your job in any way?
Yes. We as we've already heard, we can't go to calls, not regularly every call, but the frequency of it, like people automatically, you're stealing Mr. Foreman's money. You illegally raided him. You've done all these things. You know, your wife's having sex with him. Is that why you stole his money? Never touched his money. It's been proven. He knows.
Did somebody say that to you?
Yes. You can't make these simple street arrests with people that are mouthy. I get that, but now there's just fuel.
So you were called a couple names by Mr. Foreman, one of those being, what was it, Beetle Bailey.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone believe you're Beetle Bailey?
Probably not. That's a drawn turkey.
Beetle Bailey is a cartoon that's in the newspaper.
Sure.
Been there for years. So that would be an exaggeration. Okay. And when they call you a son of a bitch, that would be an opinion.
Yo, just right
That's
here.
never been an opinion.
Because there's no way we can prove whether you're a son of a bitch or not.
Yeah, she's been dead for years.
Sorry. I am sorry about your mother. Yeah.
Wow.
The same thing with being called, I think it's Gomer Pyle.
Yes.
No one would think you're Gomer Pyle from the movie,
Obviously, that's a character in the movie.
but you're not that person.
No.
This may sound stupid, but you've been a law enforcement officer for a long time, correct?
Yes.
You've been called many derogatory names, correct?
Over the years, yes.
You've been called a son of a bitch before, correct?
Not published, but yes.
Okay. You've been called other things even worse, correct?
I'm sure over the years I've been called many things.
And it'd be fair to say that during those years, people probably said bad things about you and your family also. Do you believe everything you read on the internet?
No.
You believe everything you read in the newspaper?
No.
So, are you testifying and claiming that because Mr. Foreman called you Gomer Pyle, you've been painted in a false light with the public?
This attorney was doing great. We didn't quite get to that part yet, but he was doing a very good job just on the questioning. And just as a lawyer and somebody who really enjoys trial advocacy, I really just appreciated that, because what he did a great job connecting with this witness and just being real likable in the way that he's asking the questions. Like, the witness clearly seems oblivious that he's undoing himself with every answer that he gives. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that part. Okay, Steve, we can play the next part.
Still trying to find the next part. I think
Okay.
because it linked off to someone to Trial TV Live, so they had the feed of the trial and then they were live. So this is a almost 8-hour feed where they just sat and watched the trial. So subscribe to Otunga Law so we can pull something like this with some fun trials like this.
Oh, have
Because-
a feed? That
Yes,
was-
just have a live feed where you just watch a trial.
all right.
But I
Just
think-
keep that in existence, from your lips to God's ears. We'll have our own Otunga Law.
But I think because of that, I have to search the transcript real fast and find.
All right. Sounds good. But anyway, in the part we're looking for, they reference the part where in the song Afroman says he slept with his wife, which again to me just goes back to, hey, hit him up, Tupac and Biggie. And then hey, big, like Pac say wild stuff. He slept with your wife, but not in those words. Oh man, classic rap beef. Hey, speaking of which, in the comments, what's your guys' favorite rap beef? What's the number one of all time? Is it Tupac and Biggie? Is it Nas and Jay-Z? Is it Kendrick and Drake? This is totally off topic. It's nothing to do with anything. But while Steve was looking for that clip, yeah. Wow, man! Shout out to Afroman. Also, I just want to mention this. I don't know if you guys have seen the clips, but in the surveillance video inside Afroman's house, the entire house is painted green, like not quite lime green, but very, very close, a couple shades off from lime green. It's an interesting choice. It's an interesting choice. Green is my favorite color. I've often considered whether I would paint a room or something inside my house green. I have to say, after seeing the video footage of Afroman's house, I think I'm cool on that. I think I'll leave that to Afroman. I'm glad he answered that question for me. Yeah, I love. I had my home gym used to be green, Incredible Hulk green. That was dope though. That was different. All right. Ice Cube versus NWA. Yeah, that was a classic one. But Kendrick did have some bangers in this feud. Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. Wound up even performing at the Super Bowl. Kendrick, like, he was He was waiting for this, which also, I mean, I don't think people acknowledge enough, but like, how long had he been waiting for that? That was the perfect trap, and Drake walked right into it. So that was brilliant. Somebody should make like a video or just something examining that and like relating it to like the art of war, like the strategy, like how he did that is masterful. It was really interesting. But also shout out to both those guys and Drake too, because it made for a great battle, because you have to have two people, you know, that go back and forth, just like a wrestling match. Like you have to believe that either person can win in order for it to be, you know, for it to feel like there's legitimate stakes. Yeah. Great. All right, Steve, what else we got? Hello. Death Rider, Matt Riley. How you doing? Glad to have you with us. What's up? Courtney boy. Is that what that is? Courtney boy. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Country boy. Courtney boy. Sorry. I got to make this bigger. Very random question. What did you do with the 2 black widows you captured outside your house? Preserved them for scientific basis and study. They are still in preservation containers. If I'm being honest with you, haven't checked back in on them. I'm sure they've, I don't know, started to waste away in there now. But I captured them, and I was terrified of them at first. But then I came to find out that apparently they don't really. Allegedly, according to ChatGPT, they say they don't really bother people unless they're provoked or something like that. And I haven't seen any more since. I did call an exterminator, and when the guy came the next day, I had him thoroughly spray and do whatever they had to do, so we didn't see any more. And I haven't seen any more. But yeah, their bodies they're preserved in the backyard somewhere. All right, what else we got? Oh, we find it.
So you're solely being painted in a false light due to Mr. Walters saying he had sex with your wife.
Mr. Walters does have sex with his wife. Mr. Foreman doesn't.
Good catch on that.
Yeah.
So you're claiming that is the defamation statement, is that he said he had sex with your wife.
Yes.
Okay. And that's painted you in a false light.
It's caused tremendous pain in my life.
I'll get to that. We have to go through false light first. So does it paint you in a false light?
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
Guy sealed himself. Come on, buddy. You did yourself in. You don't know.
If your wife's cheating on you or not?
Then
You want
it's
to
not
go there?
No, I just want to ask that question because you
Be
said you
true,
don't
then.
know. I just
Been
need
with
the
that
answer.
woman since middle school.
I know.
I would hope she wouldn't. But you know what? Once somebody puts it out there for their fun and entertainment, it's out there. And it's a problem.
So it's something we cannot verify the truth of? Is it a thing that can be verified, true or false?
Ask your client.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask for direct the witness to answer the question, yes or no, please.
That you don't like his answer doesn't mean he didn't answer.
He didn't answer the question. He's told me to ask another person. That is not an answer to the question.
So ask him another question.
Okay.
That was his answer. You didn't like how it came out, but it was his answer. They can't make him say something else. You can ask him another question.
And so are you claiming that Mr. Foreman saying he had sex with your wife is a private fact about your life?
My family is a private part of my life.
About your wife?
Him having an affair with my wife would definitely be a private part of my life if that was occurring.
And that has affected your reputation?
Yes.
Okay. And so am I right in concluding that the other final statement that you are claiming that Mr. Foreman said about you that painted you in a false light is that you're a thief?
Yes.
And that stems from all the posts that and all the exhibits that Mr. Klingler referenced earlier?
That's what he showed.
The ones that talk about the police officers in general?
Yes.
Were you ever disciplined due to anything Mr. Foreman said?
No.
Ever passed up for promotion?
No.
This may be a stupid question. Were you a sergeant before or after the
Before.
search? Okay. Because I know you couldn't remember when, so I was just curious on that.
It was from
This is
before.
smart. Smart by Afroman's attorney because
Have you ever been,
he's asking to see.
have you ever talked to the people's defender or informer
damages or
about
losses
the
as a result of
statements?
We were not allowed.
it. Apparently not.
So you were not allowed by the sheriff of Adams County?
Yes.
And you had a cease and desist letter sent prior to January 1st of 2023?
I personally made no notification. Everything's been made through my attorney.
But that would be after January 1st, 2023, to your knowledge?
I'm not for sure the date.
If this lawsuit was filed after January 1st, 2023, you would agree then that it would have happened after that?
I don't know if they sent you guys a letter before or after they filed suit.
Okay.
I do not know that.
So that would be something I should ask another plaintiff?
Yeah, I didn't handle the paperwork. I don't know what date you got that, sir.
Okay. Do you agree that how you act during your job duties affects your reputation?
It does.
And I think I've asked this, but I'll ask again. The public has commented on your job duties in the past?
I'm sure they have.
They've been critical of you?
I'm sure they have.
He needs to prove damages somehow. He's yet to say anything or provide any way or demonstration that he's suffered a loss in any way. I don't think he understands.
Did you order Lisa Phillips to disconnect the security camera?
I don't, and I haven't reviewed the body cam since that event. I know that the intent, if I can, for the camera system is, in speaking with Detective Newland, that they thought there was some type of operation of narcotics transfers there. So it would be obvious that if there's a surveillance system, that would be on it. That camera system was disconnected with my multi-tool by Sergeant Phillips. I will trust in the fact, because I have not reviewed it, that I said, hey, disconnect it. I don't know for sure that I did, but I know
They
that
disconnected Afroman surveillance
placed
video.
in the central area in that room for evidence to be collected, because it was to be collected. Because obviously, if you thought something was going on in the residence, you collect the surveillance system, you go later and get another search warrant. I didn't find out until a couple of days later that that was not actually collected.
It was left at the scene.
Yes,
But it
Sounds
was
sketchy to me.
Yes. And you were
to
standing
take his
there,
evidence.
Too convenient.
Yes,
but it was not taken as evidence.
it was not.
So the only thing.
Yes, I agree with you, Angelico. Yeah, he's not helping himself, not doing any
There was a
favors.
jar of
Yeah.
marijuana.
His emotions are cloudy as better judgment.
Or some
that-
hash
I don't know if he fully grasps what is supposed to be taking place here, but you're right. He's acting out of all emotion right here.
No one was arrested for threatening you, correct?
Not our choice, but no.
He's claiming to be he
That was a
was
choice
threatened.
made by the sheriff.
I can't tell you whose choice it was. I know that the agency as a whole was very upset and very concerned. And between the powers that be, whoever that is, there was no charges filed.
How credible was this search in the first place? That's the thing we don't know is the history here too. Like I wonder if
This man
Afro
says
Man has
being a son of a bitch is not a
done
crime,
something in the
correct?
past that
No.
I don't know. It's rubbed them the wrong way, or where the police are trying to retaliate for something, or who knows why they target him, if he was targeted even. And that's Afro Man right there with the American flag suit.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This whole case almost seems like a parody, but it's real. That's the funny part of it.
Mr. Walters, I'm not going to put the body cam up again. I was frankly a little confused about what it was supposed to show, but explain to me what it was that Mr. Osborne said he thought he saw that you were explaining.
May I stand up, sir?
Yeah.
A ballistic shield weighs about 35 pounds. Okay, it's very big. One hand has your firearm, or if you're using it for something. The other hand, there's a bar like this. To activate the lights that's on the front of it, there is an activation switch on that shield. That's what occurred.
So so your finger moved or something?
Yes, that's how you activate the shield. And it's also 35 pounds. Once you're carrying it for a while, it takes a toll.
So were you trying to flip the bird to his security camera or something? Or
No.
We're trying to make a disrespectful gesture doing that?
He got caught giving the finger to the security camera, and now he's saying he
You were
was
asked
turning some light on his shield.
about things you might have been called before, criticisms you might
That
have
right
been
there
on
shows
before.
this is
Has
personal.
anyone
The fact
called
that
you a
that's
thief
what
before
see
and
that's what
published it?
we're missing here is there's something
Has anyone
personal,
ever
and this whole attack feels
published
personal.
a
This search
statement that they
and
fucked
why
your
they did
wife?
this in the backstory, and that's why this officer is acting off of emotions.
Your
Like this
kids
is
come
very
home
personal for this officer.
upset
But if it
because
was
somebody
personal while they were
left
there
behind
on
or
the
somebody
raid,
else was there,
that means that it
your
was
father
personal before they
some
got
point
there. The whole
told
raid was
before
a
this?
personal
Very
attack.
since yesterday. Because everything is brought back up again.
Were you at Mr. Foreman's deposition?
I was not.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Recross.
Go ahead and recross it, Mr. Walters.
Okay, go ahead, sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, I think he pretty well did himself in there. He didn't do himself any favors, and the jury clearly saw that. He didn't prove any damages. He wasn't able to show any way that he was substantially harmed. He didn't lose his job. He wasn't demoted. Just vague things he couldn't prove. He claimed he was threatened, but he didn't have any specifics. Like there really weren't any damages. And then the part about being painted in a false light because Afroman said that he was sleeping with his wife. Okay, so in order for that to be a false light, that would mean that Afroman did not sleep with his wife. That when Afroman said he slept with his wife, that line is false. So the attorney asked him, "Is that true?" And the gentleman said, "Well, I don't know." So that right there shows that, hey, it isn't necessarily false. It maybe it is true. That does not help his case. I don't think he realized it, but oh, that's funny to me. That part is great. What else do we have in here, Steve? Do we have any questions? What else do we have?
Not legal related at all, but I also want to know.
Thoughts on the Spider-Man trailer? Looks amazing. I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited that we get that coming up. Isn't it coming out in the summer? June, July, something like that? I'm really excited for it. The Spider-Man movies never disappoint, and it's been a while. Excited for that. And I want to see what we're going to find out leading up to Avengers Doomsday. Also, it's coming out. Is that December?
December.
Yeah,
Avengers Doomsday is going to be December, and then Spider-Man's going to be this summer. I think those are the big canon tent poles. Legally.
I'm excited.
So actually, we can bring this legal. Legally in the MCU, we saw it a bit in Ms. Marvel, and we're also seeing it in Wonder Man, which did get a season 2. There seems to be that office that Tony Stark started to clean up New York after the Battle of New York is now seemingly going to register and lock up enhanced individuals. And I think a future video we should try to get into, like kayfabe law, but for a movie, is
Ooh, I like that.
what's the legal basis for locking somebody up because they're the Hulk, or
Right.
because they're Spider-Man, or because they're Wonder Man? Like, there'd
Or-
be very little legal precedent in our universe.
You know, it'd be interesting. We could break down the, what is it, the Sokovia Accord?
Oh yes,
Is that how you say it?
yes, the
we could
Sokovia
break
Accords.
it down with whatever information we can find about it, and try to make some sense of it. That would be fun. Yeah,
That would be fun. And also, the character you played in She-Hulk, did we determine he wasn't a lawyer or couldn't have become a lawyer?
we did not. There wasn't enough backstory on him.
He didn't have a
This
profession
was smart.
in canon.
In canon, I don't remember. I don't think they said he was smart, but he wasn't smart. I'm sorry. He was strong and he was a meathead. That was the thing. I mean, he came across as a meathead anyway. But I don't think they established his profession.
But I think in universe, legal is a place we should explore. Angelica wants to know if you're a loyalist to either Marvel or DC.
No, I'm not. I just love superheroes. Like when I was younger, I grew up on Superman, those movies with Christopher Reeve.
An Ohio
the
Sheriff's
Batmans. Sorry?
You're good. Bad.
Because there weren't Marvel movies when I was a kid. And so like I really loved those. And those superheroes were bigger. They had the action figures and all that. And then when I was older, like in my teens and stuff, and 20s, like Marvel started coming out, and I became, really a fan of that and just those movies. I mean, how could you not be? And my son grew up with those, but he actually loves both also. He loves DC. He's got the action figures for both. And I think that, like anybody else, if we're being honest, like, the consensus is the Marvel movies typically have been better than the DC movies. They just have. Some DC movies are great, and I love that they improve. But just Marvel has found they have a formula, a recipe that really works, and so I think those are just have been better. Infinity War, Endgame, those two are like in my top 10 movies, not just superhero movies, but like movies. Those are great, like really really well done piece of art. So yeah, I'm not necessarily loyal to either one.
You're a movie loyal. You're loyal to good movies.
Yes.
Also, what's funny is also DC, the current DC. So under James Gunn, I think they have a clean direction that they're going to stick with, or at least I did until they started musical chairs as to who owns Warner Brothers. Because I did find it very interesting that, like, because after Superman, I was like, oh, DC's in like really strong hands, that they have a very clear direction, and like everything from the DC universe is going to be through James Gunn. And then we started to hear, no, Larry Ellison's son wants to buy Warner Brothers. It's like, oh, that's going to screw everything up. And then it's like Netflix made a successful bid to buy Warner Brothers. I'm like, oh, that means you're not going to see any of it in a movie theater. And then actually it's back to Skydance Media, Paramount, everybody. That's who's going to own Warner Brothers. And I think that could thwart James Gunn's plans. But the way movies work, he's like almost a full wave of creative movies through already before anyone can meddle. So we're going to at least eat good for a couple years before
well,
the corporate restructuring.
Yeah. And because to be honest, I really enjoyed his Superman movie. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what we were going to get for sure, but that's my favorite Superman movie in quite some time. Maybe one of them. It's definitely one of my all-time favorite Superman films, but I liked how he humanized Superman, and just it was really good. I agree with you though. Like I feel like we're in strong hands. I'm excited to see the follow-ups that he has. I'm really enjoying the Peacemaker also series with Cena. I'm really enjoying that too. I really like what James Gunn is doing. And I mean, then also he was a big part of Marvel. He was a big part of the recipe over there too. So it's cool to see him bringing that to DC, and what he's building there too.
Wait, John Cena's not your sworn enemy? That's bro. I'm not kidding. Once a day on the Clips channel, Otunga Briefs, y'all should subscribe. Once a day on the Clips channel, any of the time there's a clip where you're not vehemently talking about how you beat the dog shit out of John Cena, people are commenting saying this is completely out of character.
Yeah, no, it's funny to me because John Cena and I got along. It's only because of the video we made. I told that one story, and it's really only one story that, you know, where he and I were like at odds. That was an argument. That was a blow up, and we got over that as people do. And so like that's why like it had never been talked about. We never talked about it. So I was the person who told the story, and you know it was what it was. But he's not my sworn enemy. We got along. He helped me in my career after that. Like, you know, I would consider him a friend. Like we were colleagues, but we were friends too. Like we knew each other, worked. If you work closely with somebody and in certain times like that, in those moments, if I've been cussed out, like I was cussed out by somebody, we know each to that level, we know each other pretty well. So then if we're cool, like, you know, they say there's a thin line between love and hate, apparently. But no, John Cena and I are cool. We're not sworn enemies. I'm sorry to disappoint people. I think people want it to be that, and
they want it to be Bret Hart and Goldberg.
Yes, Bret Hart.
They want it to be a bit.
Well, but you know what I think it is that's so interesting is like if you just analyze this, you know, from a macro level, like why are people so bothered by this? Like, what is it? Because John Cena is generally really well liked, and you don't hear too many negative things about him. Every now and then, I mean, because there's stories out there, but like, I don't know. I don't know, for whatever reason people dismiss or whatever. But I told a true story, and I really just was kind of objective and retelling it as it happened. And I guess that, you know, if I'm being objective, it was the first time people were hearing that maybe he's unkind sometimes, or he makes mistakes, that he's human. You know what I mean? And they're so thrown off by that saying like I must be hating, or I must be, you know, doing something, or I'm disparaging him. I'm not. I was explaining something that happened in my life, because that's the other thing. Don't forget, this is my channel. I'm telling my stories. This is how this affected me, and that's what it was. But people are just so, I don't know, they have such a reaction to that video one way or another. It's like it clouds their judgment, and they want it to be something. You know what it is? It's cognitive dissonance. That's a perfect example of cognitive dissonance, where you learn new information that doesn't jive with what you already know. It doesn't match up in your head with what you know about John Cena. Wait, Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, Respect. He could be a monster backstage. What? Yeah, you find something out like that. I mean, it's like finding out the business is a work, you know. Cognitive dissonance there. Yeah, but excuse me. Will I ever go back to wrestling? Yeah, I would love to. And in a manner of speaking, like I kind of am now. I've resurfaced to the scene. I'm back on the scene. I just did a big event last weekend, autograph signing. This weekend, I'm going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana for Squared Circle Expo. So if you guys are in the Indianapolis area, come out and meet me at Squared Circle. But yeah, I'm starting to take wrestling bookings now, and I'm happy to be back within the wrestling business, in the wrestling community and universe. Like, it's fun. Like, I've missed it. Now, where do I want to go? I don't know. I'm exploring my options. Would I go to a big promotion? Sure. I explore what my options were. Where would you guys want to see me go? And what would you want to see me do? Announcer, backstage, in ring, like what interviewer? What would you guys What would you guys want to see? Let me know in the comments. All right, what else we got? I started side-eyeing John Cena after I watched the show he had with Nikki Bella, and that's when I stopped thinking he was completely a good guy. Yeah, on what was it, Total Bellas or whatever? I guess I gotta watch this, but I've heard people mention that a lot, which is interesting to me because John Cena is one of the greatest of all time. Like I said, like he's a worker. So anything on reality TV, maybe because I come from reality TV, but like I take it as a work. And so however John was portrayed on there, I assume it's because that was the goal, was to portray John in that way. So if he was portrayed negatively, I assume that was the goal. However, I'm starting to think it must have been really bad because, and also, I don't know why John would want to portray himself negatively. Now, I haven't seen it, so I need to see what this is, like what they mean, like what they're actually talking about, because I don't see why he would co-sign that. But it just seems weird to me that, I don't know, he knows there's cameras, he knows he's mic'd up, that he just is like, you know what? F it. I'm gonna be a jerk. I'm gonna let the whole world see that I'm a jerk. Like that. Come on. He's smarter than that. He's been doing this a lot longer than that. So that's why I just have a hard time feeling that whatever was shown on that TV show wouldn't be intentional. Just because I've done reality TV, I'm a professional wrestler. I'm a worker. Like I understand. However, it's there. It's there for what, and you're not the only person who says this. A lot of people say this. I guess I need to watch it. Maybe that was it. He decided he was tired of acting. You know what? I'm being myself. Maybe that's it. Take it or leave it. Or maybe he thought it would be cut. Maybe that was it. Maybe this is stuff they put in that he assumed would be cut. I don't know. I guess I'm plugging the show now. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it myself. All right, what else do we have? Otunga versus Mr. Anderson versus James Storm at JCW would be cool. Okay. Triple threat match? Yeah, that would be dope. That would be.
That's Juggalo Championship Wrestling. They're going to be in Las Vegas. That's run by ICP.
Oh, okay.
Have you?
Oh, cool.
I know I was texting with Violent J about a possible video. Do you have any interactions with them?
I don't. I've never met them. But yeah, that would be cool. That'd be really dope. But yeah, I haven't met them.
So to bring it out of wrestling and go semi-legal, I'm looking at just like the upcoming films, and I'm seeing on May 22nd, The Mandalorian and Grogu is going to release. It says with Martin Scorsese, because Martin Scorsese, he's not directing it, but he's in the film. And I want to play box office predictions. Do you think this movie on May 22nd, up against not much else, is going to do over under what Hail Mary did last weekend?
What was Hail Mary? I don't even know what that movie was.
Sorry, Project Hail Mary. It was Ryan Gosling. It did an 80 million opening in 4,000 theaters.
Oh, my son told me it was good.
It looks really good.
Yeah, he said he liked it.
Do you think Mandalorian and Grogu goes over or under an 80 million weekend?
I think it should go over. I probably if that movie did well, I think with it being, Disney, Star Wars, that cachet, I think that's enough to make it. Yeah, it should beat that.
I'm gonna take the under.
Okay.
I think as big a phenomenon The Mandalorian was, I think it was still a television show that didn't reach nearly as many people as a movie will. I think it'll do over 50, but under 80. So now we're locked in. We're locked in on something in May.
Okay.
It's video evidence. And then Hail Mary is good if you read the book and liked it. I'm sure you'll enjoy the film without reading the book. Project Hail Mary is interesting because the trailer came out at the Super Bowl, and then half the people I know suddenly read the book. Suddenly revealed to me that they had read the book. Because there was a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
trying to think if there's anything else in the legal world that we don't, because to let everybody in a little behind the curtain, we try not to jump out on legal cases that we're not well versed on.
Right.
So like, as much as I want to talk to you about in New York State about the apparently, even if what you tell your lawyer is privileged, if you also tell ChatGPT, according to a federal court in New York, that information is no longer privileged because you shared it with a third party. So they determined
just that idea, because what is ChatGPT? Then what is artificial intelligence? We have to define that. We're saying that we shared that with a third party. But what determines what's a party? Because, like, for example, okay, what in that case, then for a defamation claim, like if you disparage somebody to their face, that's one thing, but then you could say that nobody else heard it. But if you write it to ChatGPT about that person, now does that constitute libel? Now that would be under this. It should hold then that would be legitimate. So if you said something negatively about somebody else in ChatGPT, that you now have disclosed it to a third party, like that is ridiculous to me. I feel like ChatGPT is akin to like a notes app or like a souped up Google in somebody's phone. So if you can't subpoena the records for somebody's Google searches, or if you can't, I feel like it should be like that. I don't feel like it should automatically just be information that can be handed over. Like
I'll do a quick search, but I'm pretty sure you can subpoena somebody's search history in a criminal, at least criminally. No?
Yeah, no, you probably can. But what are we saying then about ChatGPT then that it?
So in the case specifically, I believe it was technically Claude, but most people know ChatGPT more than Claude. But in the case specifically, somebody searched through Claude and did a legal search through Claude in order to help their defense. And they then took that information to their lawyer.
Okay.
Let's say they were the plaintiff. The defendant's lawyer tried to subpoena or otherwise compel the information that they shared with Claude, claiming that Claude is a third party and does not afford the same protections as if, like, let's say I was guilty of a crime, but you were my lawyer and I paid you to be my lawyer.
So yeah,
if I told you I was guilty of that crime, that is privileged information.
Right.
But according the case was like yesterday, but according to the federal court in New York, if I also told ChatGPT, that information is no longer privileged because I shared it with a third party. Because ChatGPT being a cloud-based large language model means I sent that information up into the cloud, which there's no cloud, it's a data center, but I sent my information up to come back down to a data center because it exists outside of my personal space. So my personal hard drives.
So that right there pierces the protection of attorney-client.
Yes, because you shared that information with a third party.
Yeah. That's why.
But if I emailed it to you, that'd be fine. And if I emailed it to somebody else, well, I guess if I emailed it to, I guess that would be the port, is that if I emailed somebody else information that I also emailed a lawyer, that information can only be pierced, that information is no longer privileged if you know I sent it to somebody else. Right?
I think.
So like if I'm guilty of a crime and you're my lawyer and I tell you I'm guilty because that's necessary information for you, my lawyer, to know, it is your legal imperative to not tell anyone else that I'm guilty. And even if you're called to the stand on my trial or a different trial or anything therein, if somebody asks, is Steve guilty of this crime? Your answer is, due to me being a practicing attorney, I cannot answer the question.
Should be
some version of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can know your client is guilty, but you cannot that's tricky because you cannot allow your client to commit perjury then, like knowing
Right.
you can't allow your client to say something you can't. Yeah, if you know it to be false.
But if I emailed or texted my mom and told her that I'm guilty, and somehow, some way, the plaintiff found out that that communication existed, they could then subpoena that information.
Presumably.
And if they could prove that I texted my mom that I'm not guilty, then they have pierced attorney-client privilege on that piece of information. Let's say it's not me saying I'm guilty. Let's say it's something smaller.
Okay.
Let's say it's me explaining where I was or wasn't on a certain day. That if I told you precisely where I was and that information could lead to me being found guilty, you have privilege to not reveal that.
Right.
But they're saying me texting my mom is the same as me asking ChatGPT. Because for me to text my mom, I'm giving that information to another party. And for me to ask ChatGPT.
But that's the thing is ChatGPT another party? Or is it just the cloud is a data storage center? And if you pay for ChatGPT, which people do, I feel like you could argue that there's the presumption of privacy because you're paying for your, especially because if your data is stored, then I know you are. I know it is like your chats, and if that's why you log in to come back to your data. It's stored, and the fact that there are. I'm just spitballing here too.
Of course.
The fact that you log in and have the password and stuff, like there's certain expectations of privacy. Now that being said, yeah, there's always exceptions. There's always going to be, ways that they can subpoena your records. So yeah, it's probably wise not to put, really important things in or personal things in ChatGPT. But I think the argument really can be made. Like what is it? And like we can't argue ChatGPT. It's not a person. So is it a party? Like, and I think maybe that's the question. Is what's the definition of a party? What defines a party? A third party? What is it then technically? Because then, I mean, what if I texted another phone? That's it. And now it doesn't. If the other phone, what I didn't say is the other phone belongs to me. So I texted myself essentially. But I didn't say that. I texted another phone, because then we get into philosophical. Who owns the phone? Do I own it? Or like, okay, what if it's, what if it's my son's phone? I texted my son's phone. It's not my phone. It's his phone, but I paid the bill. Like where do we draw the line there then on what a party is for this?
Also, if the fact that you're using an open AI or a Claude or an Anthrop, like the fact that you're using a cloud-based LLM, does that mean if you have a local LLM, which is a thing you can do, which is that you can train a private LLM that runs completely enclosed to your system and does not communicate with the internet in any way?
Right.
So then I would argue that's not a third party because that's yours.
Yeah, and in that case, yes, I would agree. So maybe it comes down to which system it is and what program it is, and if it's open or if it's open AI or if it's closed AI. I can see that factoring in. I think that the average person isn't familiar with AI enough in these classifications to know better, as even clearly the average lawyer is not familiar with it enough.
So
the above average lawyer perhaps is not familiar with that.
So Southern District of New York, but it's a federal judge, Judd Rakoff, ruled orally in a criminal case that prompts an output created by a criminal defendant using a public AI were neither attorney-client privilege nor protected by the work product doctrine, even though the defendant argued that he prepared reports synthesizing defense strategy after speaking with his attorney in anticipation of a potential indictment. The judge followed up this bench ruling with a written opinion, first of its kind, on February 2026. And then this person was using Claude, and then the grand jury was able to subpoena Anthropic. And mind you, he was using Claude in conjunction with his legal defense. But because he
I
used
don't know how
Claude,
they can't say that that's like that seems like it would be work product. Yeah, or that's like okay, like what if you have a document that you're working on with your I don't know, or your attorney sends no, because they wouldn't give their client access to that. I don't know, or like a text thread. What if there's a text thread between the attorney and the client, and within the text thread, they include Claude or a search? No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a hypothetical that would.
well, because as far as I'm aware, what I'm describing, which are private large language models or closed large language models, if attorneys use them for the sake of paralegal or even for the sake of transcribing, they use versions that aren't open source or aren't web based.
Okay. So
Specific or if you're in the Southern District of New York, you should start. Like,
yeah, clearly.
If there are any law firms using Claude or ChatGPT right now, they need to find a way to use a local version that does not use the internet effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
But this is wild that like pretty much anything you say to a chatbot in preparation for a legal defense, and once again, this case, it's in one district far from where you and I are, but currently right now the federal legal precedent is that is not work product, and that is not covered by any type of privilege.
Yeah. No,
it would be the equivalent to if you posted it on Facebook but private. Is how they're treating it. That because you posted it on Facebook but posted it on Facebook private or in drafts, you then therefore shared it with Facebook.
And that's interesting because you didn't necessarily publish it. Or like, okay, for it to take it to YouTube, you could upload a draft. What would happen there if you upload it to your drafts, but you never hit publish, or you set a time for it to be published, but that time doesn't come? You cancel it within there, or but you don't publish it.
Or like you and I do when we record, we record it and then we record it on StreamYard, but then I also stream it unlisted to this channel.
Right.
So legal. It doesn't matter much because what we do does get posted, but does the legal argument become, even though it's private on YouTube, does private on YouTube mean that you didn't share it with YouTube? Because if YouTube support wanted to, they could watch a private video in a way that you don't get a view on it.
Right.
So does that you would expound upon this ruling, that would mean this is a private. YouTube is a third party in this instance, or StreamYard is a third party, or Zoom is a third party in this instance. And
then I wonder, does it matter whether or not the person had knowledge that they were sharing it to a party? For example, like if they posted it, privately to YouTube, does the individual posting it have knowledge that YouTube would be able to view it, or are they thinking that? And I don't even know if that would matter. I don't even know if that would matter, but excuse me.
But this was also, all of this is in the last 5 weeks. So I'm sure somebody, the way these things work, somebody's going to take it to the Supreme Court, and then God knows how the Supreme Court will rule, because most of the people on the Supreme Court are too old to fully understand what we're talking about. Actually, that's a good question. How old is Judge Rakoff?
Oh, very good question.
82. So we were talking earlier about boomers.
Yeah.
Senior judge of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. He is 82 years old, and he ruled that by sharing information with Claude is a third party. And he could be one of the smartest 82-year-olds. He could be one of the most tech-savvy 82-year-olds in the world. I doubt he fully understands what Claude is.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just imagining explaining this to my mom, and if she were the judge, and I can see her telling me for certain, well, yes, it is a third party because you shared it with Mr. Claude. And same with Claude, trying to explain it. Claude is not a person. No, yeah, but yes, I understand that, but you shared it with Claude, with Mr. Claude. No matter how many times I explain to her, it doesn't matter. She's going to go back to the same thing. And that's what I can see here. Something like that, where they just don't understand, where they feel like it could be something as minute as that, but they get caught up on is the name. It sounds too much like a person that must be an individual, must be an entity.
And I should clarify for defamation's sake, we're not saying that that's the case here.
No.
But if we're playing pure odds, an 82-year-old is very unlikely to understand the nuance of this case.
Right.
That I'm just thinking what's likely and unlikely.
Yeah.
Got a few questions here, and then we could probably close up shop. Angelica wants to know if we have any updates on Raja Jackson.
No, I don't have any, unless you guys do. If you do, let me know. I haven't heard anything about that case. It's been quiet. Yeah.
Do you think a plea deal is in the works? Because I don't think the LAPD wants the smoke either.
No, I think they want the case to go away, and for all parties involved, I think that's probably best. I mean, well, actually, I don't know if I call it an update, but the last thing I heard, and this is from a source of mine, was that apparently Psycho Stu didn't necessarily want to cooperate, didn't necessarily want to cooperate against Raja, or something in that manner. I heard, or his statement didn't necessarily hurt Raja or cast some kind of doubt on it. That's the indication that I was given. Again, take that with a grain of salt. That's all alleged, but from a backstage source, and not backstage source, but from a source connected to it. And I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if that's what's holding it up. Again, I don't know, but that was the word in the street that I got.
You and I live on similar streets. That was also what I heard.
Okay.
Is that Psycho Stu's a really, really good guy, really, really loves the wrestling business.
Yeah.
And could feel that for Raja Jackson to go down for this would harm the wrestling business or harm the promotion or both. And that he may not want to be a party to that.
That's what I've heard that I do think I've heard from enough sources that it sounds like it's probably legitimate, is that like Psycho Stu was there basically at Knox Pro from when it opened. He's really loyal to them. And so he obviously feels terrible about what happened. They lost their WWE ID designation. And so he probably wants this to go away, or will do whatever he can to help the promotion get back to where they were and get people to forget about this or something. I can see that. But yeah, so it's probably something along the lines of that. Who knows? And again, this is all speculation, but I haven't officially heard anything.
I believe Knox Pro is running a show in Las Vegas for Mania. Find it. Yes, that's. I don't want to say I was surprised to hear that, but I definitely was not. They're Treasure Island, right? Yeah.
Cool. Well, good for them.
They are.
Wow.
Friday, April 17th at 10 p.m. and then also Saturday, April 18th at 1 a.m.
I hope they have great shows. I'm sure they will. Again, that incident that happened was one-off. I mean, that's the only time I've ever seen something like that happen. And thankfully, because it was such a well-covered and viral incident, that hopefully nothing like this happens again, because now people can refer to this. But yeah, so I'm sure they'll have great shows, and I wouldn't expect anything like this. Wouldn't expect any spectacles like this.
Same. And they're on Lancashire. Oh, that's why. They're also hosting a WrestleMania watch party at their venue on Lancashire in
Nice.
Los Angeles. So
Nice.
April 18th and 19th.
Good. Shout out to those guys. Good.
Supreme Kai live the Domain Event Center, $20 cover. And then interesting. You can pay up to $250 for a ringside table, but that's the whole table. That's fine.
Cool.
$250 for the whole table. Table's probably sitting a lot. This is an interesting one. Have you ever watched the Muppet Show special back in February? Haven't you been on Sesame Street? It's two questions here. You were not on Sesame Street.
I've never been on Sesame Street. That would be awesome, but yeah, no, I haven't. And I didn't watch the Muppet Show special back in February. I used to watch it when I was a kid. I remember Sesame Street also, but yeah, no, unfortunately, I never got to visit Sesame Street. Yeah, that would have been awesome though.
That's still a street. There's still time. We can get you to that Muppet Workshop, and this new Muppet Show is excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent. I was frustrated that it's a one-off for a while. And then Angelica, this is incredibly common at WrestleMania weekend.
Show at 1 a.m.
Yes.
Is that normal? Yeah.
That is very normal.
Apparently it is. I found this out when I worked fourth rope at last year's WrestleMania. The call time was 12. I thought that meant 12 noon, obviously. No. Midnight. It's like, what? I was dressed by 10 a.m. ready to go, sitting on the edge of the bed, waiting. Like, all right, wait, should I go? And then realized it's midnight. I went and had a whole day, took a nap, went to sleep, woke back up. Yeah, that's normal though nowadays. Yeah.
But yeah, she's learning that, yes. And it's not just WrestleMania. It's I was in Las Vegas for would have been the very first Double or Nothing at the MGM. And then that was also a StarCast. So I was working StarCast. But I went to a show that turned out to be a free show because they just did it in the middle of an open air mall in downtown Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
I believe bell time was 11 p.m. and then the show ran until 4 a.m. And I think I tapped out at 2 a.m.
Wow.
Like there were like 4 more matches where I was like, I have work in the morning. Like I'm not like, even if I was here to play, like who expected to be here till 4 a.m.
Right. Yeah, too much. Well, cool. This was fun.
This was really fun.
Yeah.
I think we're good on questions. I think we covered the Afroman trial pretty well.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, and if you guys want to see more, go check it out. Go to his YouTube page and support there. And it's pretty cool. I would imagine he's made the money back to cover his door end gate and probably then some. He said it covers legal fees too. So, yeah, it's a good story.
Actually, one last question that actually melds both things. If WWE is blocking placings from airing WrestleMania, does that include Cosm or restaurants? It's like the first POV. I'll start with Cosm. Cosm pays WWE a license to put their 360 cameras at the venue. So they are beyond authorized. They're partnered.
Right.
And it was, I think 10 days ago, WWE unblacklisted watch parties. So watch parties are allowed in Las Vegas now.
Smart.
Because that was a thing when we had Brandon Thurston. We talked a lot about that.
Right. Yeah. That they have blocked those. But yeah, I heard the same thing, that they've now unblacklisted them and they're back on. Cool.
Boom.
Great.
So.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. And let me know in the comments if you guys have any ideas or anything you want me to cover next. And we'll see you on the next stream.